Good morning and welcome to our first part of solving systems using substitution. Today we are going to start using algebra to solve systems instead of graphing them. And so we have three different parts we're going to go through. This is just part one. So what's going to happen is they're going to give us a system and they are going to give us a solution and ask if this is the solution or not to actually find the solution yet. So in part one, it's either a yes, it is the solution, or no, it is not. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so what we're going to do is remember when we do this that this is really X and this is really Y, okay? And so when we solve them on a graph, right, that would have been where these two crossed when we graph them. Now, if we don't have a graph available and we're just checking to see if this is a solution, what we want to do is substitute X and Y into the equations and see if they work. Okay, so we're going to start with the top equation. Negative 7x minus 6y equal negative 5. And what we're going to do is replace x with 1, and we're going to replace y with 2. Okay, so let's rewrite it. So negative 7, and instead of x, I'm going to use 1. And so since they're right next to each other, we know this is a times 1 minus 6. And then instead of y, I'm going to say times 2 equal negative 5. And now notice when I substitute, I have every letter is now a number. Everything's a number. And now I have to use PEMDAS, okay, so that I can see if this works out or not, because it might work and it might not. So PEMDAS, right? There's no parentheses, there's no exponents. Remember, multiply and divide, those are equivalent. So we go left to right on that and then add and subtract our next. All right, so there are two multiplies, so I need to make sure that I do those first. So what I want to do is take these and multiply these two first. Negative 7 times 1 is negative 7. And then this one, I'm going to leave the minus in the middle. I have 6 times 2 now is 12. And then equal negative 5 is what I have left. And now I'm going to do this part. The only thing I have left is a subtraction. So negative 7 minus 12 more is going to give me actually negative 19. And then I have equal negative 5. Well, does negative 19 equal negative 5? No, that didn't end up working out. So without doing anything further, without having to substitute into the other equation, I already know that the answer to this is no. 1, 2 is not a solution to the system. So if we were to graph those, they would not cross there. They'll probably cross somewhere else, but it's not at 1, 2. Okay, let's do the next one. So, and they're all going to be this way in part one, where we have an ordered pair, and then we have a system, and we're like, is it a solution or is it not a solution? So let's do it. Let's go again. This one says, is 6, 0 a solution of the system? All right, so what we have to do is the same exact thing. We're going to remember that x is 6 and y is 0 here. That's the order. And we're going to substitute it in for x and y in the first equation. All right, so it says negative x. So I'm going to replace that with negative 6, because that's my x value, minus 8, and then instead of y, we have to use 0. So times 0 equals negative 6. And then I'm going to do PEMDAS again. So am I going to subtract or am I going to multiply first? So I'm going to multiply. So 8 times 0 is really 0. And now I have negative 6. I'm going to bring down the minus sign, equals negative 6. Okay, now I'm going to subtract. Negative 6 minus 0 gives me negative 6. And this time I got the same thing on both sides. So far it is a solution. But if it works in the top one, it also has to work in the bottom one to be a yes. Okay, so we have to check that one as well. So the next one is negative 2x plus y equal negative 12. So I'm going to do this again. -2, and now instead of x, I'm going to say times 6 plus y, so plus 0 now, because that's my y, equal -12, and I'm going to check that out. So let's do this. Am I going to multiply or am I going to add first? So think of PEMDAS, multiply comes first, so I'm going to do -2 times 6 is -12 plus 0 equal -12. Now I'm going to add -12 plus 0. Yep, that's -12. And I get -12 on the other side. It worked for both of my equations in my system. So is 6,0 a solution of the system? The answer is yes. 6,0 is a solution. That is where those would cross. So we know without even graphing this, right, by substituting those in, that these two equations, if we did graph them, would cross at 6,0. Okay, last one, which is the scariest one for many students, because right away you look at it and it has everyone's favorite, fractions. Just remember that fractions are really division, right? This means 1 divided by 4. This means 4 divided by 5 and 12 divided by 5. Okay, so when we do this, don't get panicky about it. Realize that fractions are just another way of writing a division. Okay, let's do it again. So this one says, is 4 a solution of the system? So we're going to remember that x is 4 and y is 2. It has to go in order. And we're going to start with the top one, okay? So it says y equals 1 minus 1/4 x. So instead of y, I'm going to write 2. And then I'm going to write equals, and then I'm going to write 1, and then minus, and then 1/4, knowing that's 1 divided by 4. And then the x is right next to it. So now right next to that is a times, and then 4 for x. Okay, looking at this now, the equation is written the opposite way that it was in the ones up here. That's okay. We still have a minus. We really have a division and a times sign. So remember, multiply and divide are equivalent. So we're gonna divide here first and then times. So if we do 1 divided by 4 first, that's going to give us a decimal of 0.25. So I'm going to rewrite that. 2 equals 1 minus 0.25 is my decimal that I get times 4. Now do I minus or do I multiply? And I multiply next. So 0.25 times 4 is going to give me 1. So I'm going to write that again. 1 minus 0.25 times 4 is 1. All right, now I can finally subtract. So 2 equals 1 minus 1, 0. And already that does not match, okay? And so since we have it not matching, we already know that our answer is no. 4, 2 is not the solution of the system. So we don't know what is, and at this point, we're not figuring that out yet. But we're just saying whether or not this one is, and this one is a no. Okay, the assignment today is on the back of these notes, and it is the same exact thing every single time. We're just telling whether or not each ordered pair is a solution to the system. If you need help, please email me, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Have a great day.